GPS satellites are constantly bathing the world in their electromagnetic signally glow. But how exactly do these satellites find you? Hey everybody, Trace here for DNews. Thanks for tuning in. Saying a satellite finds you is very enemy of the state, very NBC TV government drama. But GPS satellites, they don't actually track you. They're simply broadcasting a signal that you then pick up. A more accurate way to describe it would be that GPS doesn't find you, but you find it. The Global Positioning System is a network of around 30 satellites, a receiver, and a super accurate clock, all pulled together with math. The system was created in the 1980s for the military, but they opened it up for civilian use, and it has changed how we find directions, connect with each other, and of course, find pizza. But how it works requires a ton of incredible science. Firstly, we have to know what time it is. I know that seems kind of strange, but if you don't have a super accurate measure of time, you just can't do GPS. The most accurate measure of time humans have is the constant and predictable vibration of an atom. The U.S. Naval Observatory in Washington, D.C. is the official United States time. They mark time by measuring billionths of a second using 9,192,631,770 electron vibrations of a cesium-133 atom. Hope you get that. The atomic clock is accurate to nanoseconds, which is super important. Secondly, we have to have a satellite network, which also knows the time. As of October 19, 2015, there were 31 GPS satellites with 3 atomic clocks on board, as well as transmitters to send microwave signals out to the planet below. The system is flying at 11,000 kilometers an hour, about 20,000 kilometers above our heads, and is maintained by the U.S. Air Force. Those signals that the microwaves send out, those are what are telling you where you are on the planet. Okay, so GPS signals are sent at exact intervals, say every few seconds. Embedded in the microwave signal is the ID of the satellite that's sending it, the health of that satellite, the location of all the satellites in the system, and the very precise date and time. Very precise. Because tens of thousands of kilometers away on the ground, those signals need to be picked up by your smartphone. Once you click and let the pizza app know your location, of course. Smartphones and GPS units have to have very precise time because microwave signals travel at the speed of light, roughly 300,000 kilometers per second. So in a fraction of a second, the signal travels from each satellite to you. This is why we need atomic clocks, because 20 to 30 nanoseconds can make a big difference. But we'll come back to that in a second, which is kind of a pun. The receiver can tell where each satellite is by the difference in time lag from the signal. Using a mathematical process called trilateration, the GPS unit can determine your exact location. Basically, a sphere is drawn around each satellite, indicating the time lag from each, and the overlapping point where they all intersect is your current location. After all that, you can finally get pizza. But before you get confused, there is not an atomic clock in your smartphone. As long as the smartphone clock is pretty good, it's going to observe regular updates from the Naval Observatory, keeping it on track. The more satellites your phone can see, the more accurate your location. If you pick up 3 satellites, your GPS can determine your latitude and longitude. But with 4, it can tell your altitude as well. As you move, the time lag from the satellites reaches your antenna differently, and it constantly will update with the math of trilateration. Basically, the dot moves on your map. Even after all this work, just to get a pizza delivered, there's a ton more complications because satellites need replacement. They only have an operational life of about 7 to 15 years, so they have to keep launching new ones. We're on our 5th generation now, and they're getting a lot better, but they're still not perfect. The satellite signals will bounce off an ionized layer in the atmosphere called the ionosphere. It's the same thing AM radio bounces off. It's not very friendly to signals going through it. But on top of that, GPS satellites are traveling really fast and they're really far away. Meaning, Einstein's theories of general and special relativity come into play. Even if the atomic clocks on board the satellites and on the ground are super accurate, the ones up in the satellites are ticking faster than the ones on the ground because gravity is stronger down here. So, GPS has to mathematically calculate and adjust roughly for 45,000 nanoseconds per day of time difference. This is a big deal. Being off by 20 to 30 nanoseconds can make a huge deal, and pretty much then the system would be worthless. It's frickin' crazy. Thanks to the space program, Einstein's relativistic physics, atomic clocks, and smartphones, you, my friend, can get food delivered to more or less your exact location. You know, within a few yards. Come on, what do you want? We're not perfect yet. The next generation could get us within a few inches. And thank you also to the United States Air Force for sponsoring this episode and making sure that the pizza guy knows exactly where to come. Every day, American airmen go above and beyond to break barriers both professionally and personally. The United States Air Force is powered by airmen, fueled by innovation. Crazily enough, your brain